PANAF ECHO, the African perspective.
Global Geopolitics Monthly News Roundup, January 2024. Yemen-NATO. Yemen ballistic missile hits U.S. cargo ship in Red Sea. The Ansar Allah forces, also known as Houthis, have successfully hit a U.S.-owned cargo ship in the Red Sea. They used a ballistic missile, which, interestingly, the mighty NATO navies in the area couldn't intercept. The Ansar Allah forces of Yemen have vowed to attack Western interests in the Red Sea until Israel stops the Palestinian genocide. Iran, USA. Mossad and U.S. targets hit in Iranian missile strike. Iran retaliates to the recent alleged U.S.-backed attacks. It suffered by shooting precision-guided ballistic missiles at several key targets in Iraq, Syria, and Pakistan. Middle Eastern sources such as Al Arabiya and Shafaq News talk of a U.S. Air Force base, an American consulate, an airport, and terror strongholds as some of the targets. Russia. France. Russia eliminates French mercenaries in Ukraine. In a recent show of resolve, Russia used a precision strike to destroy an abandoned medical facility in Kharkov, close to the front line. Local sources confirmed that it housed foreign mercenaries, mostly French. Russian authorities claims about 60 killed and 20 severely wounded. This retaliation comes after the recent public statement from the French president that France would supply about 40 long-range Scalp missiles and a few hundred bombs to Ukraine. Subsequently, the French ambassador in Russia was summoned for consultation at the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs.
Приезжает к зданию на Смоленской площади. Следим, как все происходит. Здесь расхватите. Monsieur Lévy, est-ce que vous êtes au courant qu'il y a des mercenaires français? Est-ce que vous êtes au courant? Нет одного слова, посол. Que font les mercenaires français en Ukraine? Que font les mercenaires français en Ukraine? Avec nous.
Syria, France. French terrorism to face the courts. As detailed by Anadola Agency, France's highest court on Tuesday rejected an appeal by French cement producer Lafarge that it dismissed charges of complicity in crimes against humanity as part of an investigation into its operations in Syria. As such, the company will be trialed on those charges, further exposing to the world the truth behind terrorism and its true backers, the West. In 2021, Anadolu obtained documents revealing that France's intelligence agencies were fully aware of the ties between the terror groups and Lafarge. Civil war fears in the U.S. The immigration issue seems to be the biggest threat to the U.S. stability despite the severity of numerous other scandals such as the rigged elections of 2020, the exposure of the Biden family's criminal activities, the fiasco of the COVID-19 so-called pandemic, the debacle in Ukraine, the sabotage of Nord Stream, their contribution to the Palestinian genocide, and now the increasing number of U.S. casualties in the Middle East. Perhaps the issue of the border, which is now dividing the country in half, will help Americans focus on their issues instead of other nations. BRICS, NATO, Saudi Arabia preparing Gaza peace deal. The BRICS continue their efforts to dismantle the Western Empire, after South Africa masterfully dealt a massive blow at the International Court of Justice to the genocidal Zionist entity, further reducing its margin of operation. The Duran reports that Saudi Arabia is preparing another diplomatic offensive to garner even more consensus around the need for a ceasefire in Gaza. Brick by brick, the world witnesses the construction of a separate path, one that is unarguably the most humane. Europeans' farmers fight back. Unable to continue their activities due to ever stricter laws and ever-rising costs, the number of farmers in Europe is in constant and sharp decline. Now, the conflict in Ukraine has resulted in a flood of cheaper and lower-quality farm products from Ukraine onto European markets. Together with widespread inflation and recession, consumers naturally gravitate towards the cheaper options. This context has become unbearable to most farmers in Europe who are forced to discontinue their operations. Meanwhile, the EU signs food import deals with faraway nations, such as the recent Chile-EU deal on poultry and eggs. Yemen is ready for war with the US.
Followed the history of the United States of America, which entered the Vietnam War and was defeated. It entered a war in Korea and was defeated. It entered Iraq and Afghanistan and was also defeated. Imposed a siege on Iran since the establishment of the Islamic Republic in 1979 and failed. We are betting on our people, on history, and on the future that the United States will fail in every battle it enters. The Western regime fell after the Al-Aqsa flood began. All their slogans such as morality, human freedom, international humanitarian law, justice and equality have fallen. The aggression and blockade in Gaza must stop, and our operation at sea will stop. As for media lies, they will not work as they were in the past.
These were the defiant words of Abdelaziz Ben Habtour, Prime Minister of the Ansar Allah government in Yemen. He asserted that as soon as the genocide in Gaza is stopped, they will stop interfering with maritime traffic in the Red Sea, but that in the meantime, they're not afraid of the US so-called might.
Thanks for watching. Stay tuned for more echoes of current affairs.